again, I'm Anthony Kelly, writer, and I'm here presenting Amy Abdullah Barry, and she's a poet and a writer who lives in Ireland, and so I want to ask you some questions about yourself and your work. So would you like to introduce yourself, Amy? And again, thank you so much for taking part. You're a fantastic inspiration.
Yes. Hello, Anthony. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. All right. I am originally from Penang, Malaysia, but now living in Athlone since 2003. And what's my background now? I was educated in a convent schools. So my teachers were English and Irish nuns who taught us English, basically. I was in a primary school, secondary school, and convent school. And then after that, I went to university and I studied mass communications, where in the first year I studied broadcasting, journalism, advertising, public relation, where in the second year I majored public relations. So my background is in the media, hotel, and also oil and gas, where I perform public relations and marketing and, like I say, business development, So I've been published by Daedalus Press last year, and with my collection, Flirting with Tigers, and
Just pull it back a little bit. You're just cutting off the top. Pull it back a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Okay, all right. Can you see
move it
that?
to the left so we don't cut your head away. Your head, yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, that's it. Flirting with Tigers. Okay. I love the cover as well. The cover is fantastic.
Thank you. So, well,
point.
I'm a travel lover, as you can see. You can see the aeroplane, and you can see the lady running towards her desk. She's been inspired by all the travels, so she's writing, and then you see in the background, the tiger is watching from the Malaysian forest, you see.
And anyway, the tiger is very symbolic of Malaysia as well, isn't it?
As well, yes, and it's symbolic, is a symbolic in my work as well, in this collection. And yeah, and all the travels that I've been to, places like China, for the Great Wall of China in Beijing, and I've been to Nepal and Kathmandu, a backpack there, and to all the places that I've been, say Morocco, so Rome, so I have a few poems that from those places as well. Of course, I also write human interest story, like you're talking about the issues of immigration, refugees, things like that. And I also write a lot of nature, because I was a city girl in Malaysia, and then coming over here, I'm living in rural Ireland. So all the natural environment around me, is very inspiring, So little, things like the nettles, the thistles, the hawthorns are all included in this book as well.
Oh, fantastic. Yes. Would you like to share one of your poems?
Oh, yes, I can. I can read a poem called Chang Cheng. Okay, this is about the Great Wall of China. So that is a tribute to the Great Wall of China in Beijing. Okay, Chang Cheng. Every stone is a story. Leaning over the railing, I'm clothed to the waist in bricks. The trail meanders over hills, twists down into darker forms, bodies straining, hands and backs, muscles rippling in the sunlight, absorbing the bluster of a storm. Chang Cheng, they call it, the long wall or the long graveyard for the millions who perish building it. Their stories as quiet, as undeniable as stone. So that's wow. Chang Cheng for you, or the Great Wall of China.
Very, very topical at the moment as well, with in so many ways, with the workers who built the wall, international work policies, all kinds of the Ireland being like, at one point was the Celtic tiger. Now it's of course not, and just fabulous imagery.
Yes. Do you know, Anthony, growing up in Malaysia was fun, lots of adventure, when I remember enjoying myself very much at, being at my grandma's house in Penang, and her house is on stilts above the sea. So there's a poem in the collection which I read, which is when I was about 8, 9 or 10, so I used to go and visit my grandmother,
Yes, yes.
in the house. Yes.
I
And
love
can
it.
I
I
read,
love this
can I
poem
read
actually.
that? Can I read that poem
Oh,
then?
please, yeah. Taste of Penang.
Yes.
Because I love
Yes.
stilts. In Thailand, I've seen lots of houses on stilts in the canals, and I actually love them. I think they're fascinating. So please do. Yeah, I love them. It's so fascinating.
Okay. And this is called At Grandma's. On stilts, a house above the sea, shoeless I enter, with bitter kisses on both cheeks, constant sounds of cooking from her kitchen. We gaze out to the horizon, slapped by the low tide stench and the pungent scent of tobacco. Soon, we have to move to the land. The government wants to develop this place. She spits hard on the wood of the jetty below her. A skinny tomboy, together with my cousins, I plunge into jade waters, poach cockles from the fishermen's cages, ignoring grandma's screams up above. On the creaking veranda, we grill our cash, dipping them in peanut sauce, sea breeze drying our hair. Next day, time to leave, a flurry of kisses. She stands, framed in the open door, tiny in her floral nyonya blouse. Her hair is sun-baked sand, her curls white-tipped waves. She blows cheroot smoke with regal air that follows us back to dry land. So that's grammar.
Wow, I love your style. It's very succinct, short, kind of sharp, broken sentences, full of imagery and scents and smells, like the pungent scent of tobacco.
Yes.
Skinny tomboy, you plunge into jade waters, poach cockles from the fishermen's cages, the creaking veranda. It's really evocative. It brings to light pictures in my mind, and it's very powerful. And also, having traveled a little bit now in Southeast Asia, like I'm becoming familiar with the Asian love of food, and I love all your mentions of like the fruits, the durian, and only recently, I mean, I met you before, and we were talking about poetry, and but I've tasted durian now. So when you talked about in your poem, right, about the when the durians come down, the sarongs will soon come off. I've recently tasted it, and it's a really amazing texture and taste. It's something that exists in Ireland at all. So it's really fascinating, and I've kind of fallen in love with all the different fruits and like the rose apples and rambutan and all. It's such a
Anthony, do you know that Tom and Jerry in the cartoon, there is a durian version of it as well? I've just seen it. I will send you the link the next time.
Oh, please do. Yeah.
Yes. It's so funny. Yeah. So beside Anthony, natural events like the tsunami, which I have experienced, I think it was in 2004 that I experienced tsunami in Penang.
Oh my God.
And then we were very lucky because Penang is, let's say, it's been protected by the big Sumatra, So
yes.
the main, so the havoc is not as massive as in Sri Lanka and other countries. So we were very lucky. So
And you experienced this. Oh my God, that's must have been so frightening.
Oh, it is very frightening because every day 9 o'clock I'll take my two girls. That time they were about 2 and 4 years old. We used to go down 9 o'clock to the baby swimming pool, the children's swimming pool. But that day, because we were out quite late, walking around, haggling, with the hawkers, and we came back to the hotel after midnight. So we happened to sleep in, to see. So, and the tsunami came exactly around 9 o'clock for a few minutes. It just come and then go, you know.
Wow.
And then when I remember waking up, there's no sound of birds, whistling or so. I went very quiet, and it seemed to be very dark in the sky. So when I looked down, the whole floor was covered with mud. It was very dark, was very black.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was quite a frightening experience, but we were very lucky. We left the island immediately and went on to the mainland actually. Yeah. So I do have a poem in there as well in the collection about that. It was yeah.
Sure, feel free to read it. That sounds like of course they made that famous
Yeah.
movie with Ewan McGregor about that. I'm actually
Yeah.
literally staying right next to the ocean myself now, so thinking of a tsunami is quite frightening.
I know, yeah, because the weather now is rather erratic. You just don't know, what's happening really. It's really mad, actually. Anyway, you're talking about in this book, you did ask me about what are my favorite poems. There's so many favorite poems of mine in the book. And I have The Breath of the Rainforest, which speaks about being camping in the rainforest. I used to go deep into the jungle in a convoy, maybe of five jeeps or 10. We used to go deep into the jungle, and at night listening to the steps, the heavy footsteps of the elephants, and
Oh my God.
the silent growl of the tigers at night. And it's very interesting, really. And writers like Pablo Neruda, Edwin Morgan, Mary Oliver, Louis Gluck, and these are some of my favorite poets. And of course, the Irish poets like Thomas McCarthy, Jane Clark, Evan Boland, Oscar Wilde is my favorite as well.
Yes.
John McGarren, John Broderick. They are some of my influences as well in my work.
Would you have any advice for any aspiring poets or writers that are listening today?
Yes, I think for all of us, as beginners or even, as a writer, you always have to read. My advice is read and read and read. Read a lot, so you get more ideas, more inspiration from these experienced writers. So read and read and read, and you write and write and edit, really. You show, don't tell. Remember that. Always show, don't tell in creative writing. Yes.
I must say to you, I love your poem, "Off-Roading in the Malaysian Jungle." I was
Yeah.
uh, I was walking through this kind of forested area yesterday in Thailand, and
Yes.
barefoot, and I kept thinking about this sentence you wrote, break engine silence. He touches a tiny leech on his cheek, green red, like earth and blood together. Into his vast skin, it disappears. Blood oozes in its wake. I have read of such blood hunters, their dark meandering into the chambers of human flesh, churning up
Yes.
fevers, vomiting pain. Wow, I was terrified after reading your poem.
As you know, Anthony, you've been in Southeast Asia, and you know that the leeches, there are many types of leeches. Like in the paddy fields, they are thicker, they're bigger, whereas in the jungle, the ones that hanging from the tree are very tiny. you know they can just go into your cheeks without you realizing it. And normally when we go off-roading, we always have a doctor friend with us. And Dr. Ruby, the lady I was referring in the poem, she's a heavy smoker. She'll be like one finger on one side smoking away, and then with the other side stitch cutting and then stitching. She's really an excellent doctor, in
Oh
any
my God.
case. Yeah, yeah, she is. Yeah.
Well, I love the
It's,
way you incorporate your experiences, your real life, your truth into your poetry. It makes it so evocative and colorful, and then like a world very full of exotic realism. It's fantastic.
Yeah, you asked me about some thoughts about some wisdom quote actually with I read from Steve Martin, and he says that through the years I have learned there is no harm in charging oneself up with delusions between moments of valid inspiration. Thankfully, persistence is a great substitute for talent. That's from Steve Martin in his book, Born Standing Up, A Comic's Life. I read that again. Through the years, I have learned there's no harm in charging oneself up with delusions between moments of valid inspiration. Thankfully, persistence is a great substitute for talent. That's Steve Martin in his book, Born Standing Up, A Comic's Life.
Fantastic.
So,
Can I ask you one more question before we finish up? I know you're very busy.
Yeah.
People are very interested about the Irish literary scene.
Yes.
What's it like? Can you tell us anything about your experiences in the Irish literary scene?
Here in Ireland. Well,
Yes.
if see in Malaysia, I was, my background would be journalistic writing. So it's only in here in Ireland is creative writing. But I think here I'm lucky to be, I'm blessed to be in a country where literature, is here, the literary circle, is very, very supportive to all of us, to one another, and is, so in a way, when you support each other, it's very inspiring, it makes you want to work harder towards, wherever in your writing journey, you get the support from most of the writers, yeah. So we will,
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for your time. Your work is wonderful. And again, you're a wonderful writer. Here's your book again, Flirting with Tigers. And
Yes.
I'm really happy to have a signed copy of it. And
Yes.
would you like to say anything else in closing?
Well, what I would say is, I'd like to say thank you, Anthony, for having me, and I'm delighted to be here, and hopefully, so we meet again, catch up again, and yeah, perhaps in another, when you come back to Ireland again,
Yes, of
so
course.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and thank you again, and I
And
wanted to
thank you
say
for your patience.
gracias. I want to say gracias because this is for the Mexico magazine. So I say gracias,
Muchas,
to
muchas
your,
gracias.
yeah,
Muy
to your
buenos días, muy
editors.
buenos
Yeah.
días. And muchas, muchas gracias, besitos. Y hacer muy buenos días, muy buenos días.
Yes, yes.
Encantado.
And yeah, and also thank you, again, Anthony, and thank you, and also the best to your own writing journey as well. I'm delighted that you attended my class, and I'm happy to be here again, like I said,
No,
so
absolutely. Well, I
yeah,
found your work very inspiring, and I
yeah,
felt your passion speaks through your words, and it's it's not jaded, it's not crusty, it's not like negative. It's just really you speak from the heart, and you're into you just really get out
yeah,
there, and you really give it socks. So I was like, wow, I felt really inspired.
yeah.
So and I know that people will well hopefully will follow you, will read your poetry, and maybe someday you'll end up doing some readings in Mexico, and
Yes, and the
Latin
funny
America.
thing, Anthony, talking about Mexico, when I was in Paris for the last 3 weeks or so, right? And I met a few Mexicans from Mexico City, and it's quite interesting, and one is a dancer from Mexico, and he was supposed to perform in Versailles castle in Paris,
Wow.
yeah, and another one is she lives in Mexico, and she is a mathematician. She studied mathematics in USA actually. So I met them recently, and it's quite interesting to hear the Spanish. And I mentioned to them some Spanish poems that my work has been translated by Alicia, who's from Mexico, you know, so they were reading some of my translation in Spanish, you know, which is quite interesting actually, you know. Yes.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, onward, let's hopefully meet up again in Dublin and continue our conversation, or in Mexico. You know, that's it.
Right. Yes, we hope so. Yes, you know, and I will send to you my translation of the poem in the Spanish language as well. You know, if you
Oh,
want to
please,
use
please
it
do.
as
Maybe,
well.
maybe they
Yeah.
can, maybe Lamas can publish it in their magazine, and you'll have
Yes.
be published in Mexico, and
Mm-hmm.
that would be
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. Well, have a lovely
Yes.
evening, and Top Gun Ka, as they say in
Kop
Thailand,
Kunka.
and Gurab Mahagat
Okay.
in Irish, and
Okay.
muchas gracias in Spanish.
Okay. And terima kasih, that's in the Malay language,
Oh
meaning thank
wow,
you as
terima
well, you
kasih,
know. Terima kasih. And
terima kasih.
actually terima kasih in a direct translation means, terima means please accept. Kasih is actually love, you know, but when you put in a sentence is thank you. That's in the Malay language. So thank you. And Anthony, we'll see you again back here. All right.
Yeah, see you
And
again back
enjoy
here.
your travel. Enjoy your travel. Ta.
Thank you so much. Have a good night. Take care. Bye bye.
You too.